Memphis, and welcome to On Cable Tonight. I'm your host, Marlene Fullylove. My guest this evening is here to talk about the second tribute services for one lady who was considered one of the pioneers of great gospel music, Miss Cassietta Baker George. So if you will, please stay tuned, and I'll be back with my guest in just a moment.
Covered desegregation at the University of Georgia, Charlene Hunter Galt was the story.
At the same time, I was watching the reporters as much as they were watching me. I think that experience gave me a sense of the hard-edged reality of life. I found I had developed a perspective on people at their worst and at their best.
Excellence has many faces. When Rosa Parks refused to move to the back of the bus, attorney Fred Gray got the call. He represented Mrs. Parks and many other activists. Today, Jim Crow laws are gone, but Fred Gray still goes to court to argue for the cause.
Laws on the books are not enough. They must be enforced fairly. That's today's battle.
And welcome back, Memphis. My guest this evening is a distinguished young man. He is an evangelist, and his name is Evangelist Lerone Baker. How are you today?
How are you? God bless you.
God bless you, too.
Okay.
And we're here to talk about a tribute service for your aunt, all right? And rightly so, because gospel music nowadays is such a great part of all of our lives, such an inspiration for all of us. And let's talk about your aunt's humble beginnings as a gospel singer.
Okay.
All right. I guess you, in the information that you sent me, at the age of 4,
yeah,
she started singing.
In my grandfather's church, Reverend Peter H. Baker, who was her father, they used to do revivals together, and he pastored 3 churches in the hills of Tennessee, and those were her beginnings. You know, my father described them as her humble beginnings, you know. Yeah.
Okay. She was one of the first to bring gospel music to radio and television on WDIA back in, I guess, 46. And
Songbirds of the South.
Songbirds of the South, yes, a well-known group.
Yeah.
And later on, she moved to Chicago. But let's talk about her time at WDIA.
Okay.
What do you remember about those times?
Okay. Someone told me there was a Lane Avenue Baptist Church. Pastor Williams, I think it was like over in the little red looking church back then, and she was known to do solos at the time. That's before she became a songbird, because she got her beginnings singing with my grandfather, and she was on this program one Sunday, and it was these girls called the Songbirds of the South, you know. And then there was little Cassetta Baker George. She was Cassetta Baker at the time, George. She wasn't George. And she said, everybody sang, and I'm going to have Cassetta Baker do a solo. And she sang, and her instructions by Reverend Baker, her father, was, Cassetta, wherever you go, you come straight home. You know, sing, get out of church, come straight home. So she said she started for doing, these girls came after her and just said, Cassetta, you know. The girl was Elizabeth Darling, who was the founder of Songbirds of the South. And she asked her, you know, could you please just join our group, because, you know, it's just, we love the way you sing, you know. And like I said, I got to ask my dad. I'll talk to y'all later. Let me get home. So eventually, as time went on, she eventually became a songbird, and they were the first to bring gospel music live on WI radio station every day from 12 o'clock noon to 12:15. History. And I wrote a book on my life, and a lot of people tell me, I always tell people, I have to understand the times we were in back then. There were no Supremes. There was no Temptations. There was nothing in those days. There were no black mentors. We didn't have movie stars. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have anything. And I always try to tell people, in order for you to appreciate where you're going, you have to know where you come from. And the Songbirds of the South were that kind of, look, I guess we can call them stars or somebody, everybody looked up to.
Absolutely.
Because here these black girls, may I say, you know, were, you hear them every day on the radio, and everybody was running, and I understand that time, everybody was running to WDI to hear the Songbirds of the South. And I wish I could have been back there in them days just to hear it, but, you know, I wasn't.
Are there, to your knowledge, are there any old recordings of any of those
I have
programs?
one.
Do you?
I have one of Aunt Cassetta and the Songbirds of the South. It has some more, I can't really remember all the groups that are on it. It's on the album. I have it. But this was before she began her recording ministry.
Okay.
You know.
Well, in one of these museums of black history around Memphis, let's make sure that there is a tape of your aunt in the
I'm going to see that.
museum.
Oh, yeah. We working on the street now.
Well,
yeah. Me and Councilwoman Bob Square and her would be at the tribute to present the resolution, and we're working on the street for my aunt.
Oh, great.
And my aunt ain't gone, you know, she's done too much when you just let her go.
She's gone but not forgotten.
Oh, no, definitely.
All right. All right, later on, after that, she did move to Chicago, where one of the great names, Reverend James.
At that time, they weren't.
Okay, but he was known.
Yeah. Oh, no, not at the time.
He was not either. All right.
Because at that time in 1953, we're going to talk about this. The Caravans, okay. Reverend James Cleveland, they weren't known. They were like any group in any community just starting out. Okay, you must get that understanding first. And Reverend James Cleveland was playing for a group called the Caravans. And at that time, the group members were Louise McDonald Ross, Jonah and Davis, Albertina Walker, and Reverend James Cleveland. And Aunt Cassetta was singing at Reverend Clay Evans' church. Once again, just singing, you know. And Reverend James Cleveland was sitting in the audience and saw her singing. After he approached her and asked her, would you please sing with us? And I got a group that I'm playing for. I would like for you to sing with us. And she said, I can't sing because my husband don't want me to sing. Now, she was George then. It was Cassette. She had gotten married. And I think she told me like probably a few months later she thought it over. And at the time they weren't known. They were not known. And when Aunt Cassetta, then she became a caravan then. And that's when the paving and the things began.
Okay, and for people who may not know, the Caravans is the name of a group that was well known, a great part of.
They were considered as the most famous gospel group of all times, the Caravans, because through the Caravan legacy, a lot of people don't know this, but the pop singer Mickey Howard, her mother was the Caravan, Josephine Howard. Her popular song in Caravan was What Will Tomorrow Bring? So there were a lot of great people came out of the Caravan legacy. Okay,
because you had some other names listed here. Of course, Shirley Caesar.
Yeah, she wasn't in there then.
Right, but later on.
Oh, yeah.
Inez, Andrews, Dorothy, Norwood. All of these people came along after your aunt had been there, and that's wonderful. That in itself is saying a lot. And I do understand that you